and welcome back to the Pre-Roman Britain channel. I'm gwEm, and we've got another round of 303 pedal videos. So as you can see, we've got this thing here to the side, double camera angle kind of thing, so you can see a bit what's going on with the pedals as I test them. But first of all, let's just hear the 303 clean, just to remind ourselves. Exquisite. So the first pedal in this shootout today is the Electro Harmonics Hot Tubes, which was recommended to me sort of by a subscriber who suggested I should check out the gwEm Red Llama. This obviously isn't a gwEm Red Llama, but it does use the same technology, which is a CMOS inverter, so I'm hoping it will have a similar sort of sound, and we'll see how good it is. I didn't care for it much on guitar, but as we know, everything's different with the 303, so let's try it. Yeah, actually, I really like that. This switch here enables and disables the tone control, and with it disabled, you get the full frequency range, and that introduces quite a lot of bass, which gives a sort of out of control kind of feeling, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that's a good pedal for the 303, and you can pick them up secondhand quite cheap, so look out for those on eBay. This is the MXR Distortion Plus, and actually I've already used one of these in a jam that I've done, so I already know that it sounds really good with the 303. This one is one from the 70s, so it doesn't have a power input, but the modern ones sound exactly the same. I've watched a bunch of comparisons on YouTube, and you can't really hear a difference between an old one and a new one. It sounds great, but I just wonder if there's not that much tonal variation, like even compared to like the hot tubes that we just tried. But it does sound fantastic, and it's a good pedal for the 303. So this pedal may or may not be a copy of the Catalinbread Katzenkoenig. The input of this pedal is a tone bender fuzz, and the output is the filter and distortion section of a Rat. Now the Rat sounded good in the earlier shootout, so I'm kind of hoping it will sound good on the 303. I did actually try this on my guitar last week. I think it sounds really good on guitar. But let's try the 303. bit disappointed. I thought that was going to be an absolute ripper. It does sound quite good though, although I think the ones we tried earlier on are probably a little nicer sounding for the 303. This one is the Maxon OD808, and it is basically a really nice tube screamer. I don't really like tube screamer pedals, but you know, it's an effect that a lot of people do like, and I felt that I should kind of have one in my selection of effects. Let's try it with the 303. That kind of sounds cheap and plastic on the 303. I definitely wouldn't recommend that. Now, the turbo overdrive worked so well in the earlier test that I thought I would try and get a cheap turbo distortion to see how that sounded with the 303. A lot of grunge musicians were a fan of this pedal. I tried it on guitar and it definitely sounds a hell of a lot better than the normal Boss Distortion, the DS1. 303, who knows? And the turbo mode now. I don't like the turbo mode quite so much. It kind of has a weird kind of frequency response to it. I found the same on guitar as well. It had like a sort of cocteau kind of thing. But the non-turbo mode sounds brilliant with the 303, and I thought it sounded pretty good on the guitar as well. So look out for the Boss Turbo Distortion. This is a copy of an SHO pedal that I got on Amazon. We already tried an SHO in an earlier shootout. That SHO was one that I'd built. This is a kind of a ready-made commercial one. It is super cheap. I've no idea how that will sound. Sorry if I just deafened you there. I saw the output got quite distorted. I think with these SHO pedals, this did sound a little bit different to the one I tried before, but it has the same issue, which is that it doesn't really distort until you absolutely nail the volume, and at that point it is actually overdriving the mixer, so it sounds distorted anyway. So I don't think these SHO style pedals are very good for using with the 303. Alright, this is the Tech21 VT Bass DI, and we tried the Tech21 Sounds amp pedals in earlier shootouts. This one's specifically for bass, and I do use it for recording my bass when I want to use it in a track. But how will it sound with the Roland bass line? Plenty of distortion options there, much more than I kind of expected it there to be. I didn't expect this pedal to sound nearly that good. I tried at the end there to turn the resonance down and make it sound like a real bass, but it still sounds like a 303, whatever you do, but I guess, you know, it is a 303. The speaker emulation didn't work very well. That may have been the issue with the other Sounds amp pedals, because you couldn't turn it off on those. Yeah, I'd definitely recommend that. It's a slightly expensive pedal, but it's not too bad. These drive and character knobs and the blend knob, plus a 3-band EQ, you have a lot of options with that. This is the amped R1, which is supposed to sound like the modern channel of a Mesa Boogie rectifier amp. We tried the M1, which was green, which was a Marshall kind of copy, in an earlier shootout, so I'm excited what this one will sound like. The M1 did sound good, so maybe this one will as well. not my favorite pedal, but it did sound really good, didn't it? It especially sounded good when you wound the gain up. It kind of had this sort of super mental, crazy 303 tone. Maybe you like that. I can imagine some people would like that. I don't think it's quite for me, but wow. This is a TC Electronic Spark Booster. I think this might just turn out to be like a clean boost similar to the SHL and not be very good with the 303. Yeah, not much action going on with that, but fine. It's not really meant for this job. This is the Tech21 Paul Landers fly rig, so it's another kind of Sounds Amp style pedal, which might not sound very good. It's got a whole bunch of extra features though, which might be quite cool. So it's got built-in delay, it's got built-in reverb, it's got a vibrato, it's got a tuner, and it has like a sort of compression-y setting for clean sounds. But I'm just going to concentrate on the distortion here. So it's got a drive knob, a level knob, a punch button, and a 3-band EQ. Yeah, it's kind of similar to the other Sounds Amp type of pedals, except that bass one, in that there's something weird in the mid-range. I guess they're more designed for guitars, clearly. Considering the price of this fly rig, I don't think I could recommend it for 303. I haven't tried the punch button. Let's do that quickly. Nothing particularly revelatory there. There is a mid-shift button, which I might try as well. Again, no significant change. I've just noticed that this punch button only applies to the boost, but never mind. This arrangement is what I use for my chiptune live shows. There's 2 drive pedals on here. There's a EP Booster and there's this Palmer Pocket Amp. Let's try the EP Booster first. I think it might be a sort of boring sounding clean boost kind of thing, but let's see. yeah, that was a kind of light overdrive, not particularly interesting. I think the Pocket Amp will be more interesting though. It is a copy of the Sounds Amp GT2, but it does sound a little bit different. Maybe this is, maybe they'll have improved the sound with something like a 303. Yeah, I think that probably does sound a little better than the Sounds Amp GT2 for the 303, but it's still not amazing. I've also noticed through using this pedal that some of the controls are not the most reliable when you use it live, although it does have an XLR output, which is kind of handy. Anyway, what is my favorites of this time? Well, I think it would have to be one of these three. The Electro Harmonics Hot Tubes, which is quite affordable on the second-hand market and new as well. I only paid 20 quid for that. The MXR Distortion Plus, which is a classic choice to use with the 303. It sounds good, but there's not much tonal variation. And then finally, the one which I think won the shootout this time is the VT Bass DI from Tech21. Loads of variations with the different controls, and it sounded excellent with the 303, I thought. So there we go. VT Bass DI. Check that one out.